Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to episode 194B of Tales with TR. I'm your host, Terry Ryan Jr. Let's get right into it. Today's guest is a first-round pick in 1994 to the Montreal Canadiens, 330 games in the National Hockey League. Great dad, great guy, great friend. Here he is, folks, Brad Brown. Brad, how you doing?
What's up, TR? Hey, by the way, I got a text last week or 2 days ago from a Newfoundlander and said, your buddy Terry Ryan's getting inducted into the Newfoundland Hockey or Sports Hall of Fame. Congratulations.
You are correct. Yeah.
Congrats. You
wild
and your father.
that I didn't really say much about it, and it took off online. I mean, it's a huge honor, Brownie. It really is. You just reminded me there. You caught me off guard. I do have to kind of dedicate a podcast. Maybe I'll do one next week. It's a real, because everybody, like, Ontario's so big, I'm sure it's impossible. Like, you know, you got to be like Wayne Gretzky type to get in there. I wouldn't even know how they do it in Ontario, being the hotbed for hockey. But here, we all know, like, even the most distant of legends, like, I don't know, Danky Dorrington, who was just a senior hockey player in the 60s. But we all know who he is, right? Like, Alec Faulkner, the first Newfoundlander, I mean, that's a layup. There's only been 30 ever play one game in the NHL, right? So there's all kinds in our Hall of Fame that are local legends that at some point, Robbie Forbes, Sidney Crosby's uncle, who came over to play with the Cornerbrook Royals, and they won the Allen Cup. Right, guys like that. Bill Rielly, an ex-pro, he came over and really helped the St. John's Caps a few years. There's all kinds of guys. Tony Kumo played for the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds when Gretzky did. Came over to play senior, big scorer, ended up staying. Right now, we got his son Marcus that just came back from playing pro. So over here, it's a little bit more familial. Is not the word, but it's certainly more part of everybody's hockey culture, all these old school names in there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree, man. Like,
so yeah.
People don't know, like, I was born in Newfoundland and lived there until I was 5 years old. But I always had that strong connection to Newfoundland because I went back every summer. My family, every summer, 2 weeks to Newfoundland.
Yeah.
But just by
your family, you're real tight like that.
It's a small community, and they stick together. So it's a big thing for you. Congratulations.
Thank you. How far is Ming's Bite, by the way, from Bay Verte? I know. We've gone over this 1,000 times. Remember,
Ming's Bite.
You know, a lot of people didn't realize that you and I were both first-round picks back-to-back from Newfoundland. Yeah. How far is one from the other?
30 minutes, probably.
30 minutes. Because Bay Verte would be the bigger center in that area, which is still only a few thousand people.
Ming's Bite's a small little fishing community, and it's getting smaller. But, you know, to me, I love it, right? I have so much life memories going back to Ming's Bite, Newfoundland, and just all my family there. It's wicked.
Now, speaking of that, I wasn't even going to get into this, but while we were, so I want to talk a little bit about the Leafs and the Sens, and we only have about a half hour. But, so your family went to Mississauga?
Yeah.
And they've been in Mississauga ever since?
Ever since. Still there.
Okay, because look, Brownie, I didn't realize you played for the Toronto Red Wings. I don't know how I missed that. And how do you? We used to go away, like, we'd get an all-star team from here in the summers, and we came across them a couple times. I remember once in a Peterborough tournament, and I couldn't figure out what the Toronto Red Wings are. Like, what was it?
No,
I know it's a hockey team, but if you're from Mississauga, like,
yeah, well, see, in Mississauga, Ontario, like there's no borders, right? If you live in the GTA area, you can play wherever you want to play. So
yeah, that makes sense.
I play for the Red Wings, and all it is you have one coach in the area, and in my sake, it was a guy named Peter Mavridis, who was a good recruiter, and he put together a really good team, and he called you every night looking to get players and recruit players for the following season. So I played for the Red Wings, I played for the Mississauga Reps, I played for the Blackhawks, I played all over. So that's how it was.
I see.
AAA team in Toronto, and it's the Toronto Marlies, the Red Wings, the Don Mills Flyers, Junior Canadiens. So there's like 10 teams. And it's open.
Wow. Okay. And then every once in a while you get a group that all want to go to one and maybe stack it up a little, which is fine. I mean, whatever. Everybody teach their own. It's funny because the last time I saw you in your playing career, you were in Minnesota. And I don't know why. I can't remember why, but I drove to wherever you were playing. And I remember watching a game, coming down in the dressing room, and I remember Richard Park being there. And the first time I met Richard, he was playing for the Toronto Red Wings. Maybe that was another year that, because I know you weren't there, but I remember him really impressing me. Going, wow.
He was playing for the Toronto Nats. That's what it was back then. The Nationals.
Was he the Toronto Nationals? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Either way, we would have to have our provincial team play them to even have a shot at making it even remotely close. Yeah, I know we didn't win, but I think we lost like 5-3, and we're like, hey, it's not bad, you know. But Brownie, 80 games played, you had 60 points one year. You know, everybody gets to pro and has to, you know, adjust to your capabilities and in all relative. I mean, you're in 330 games in the NHL. I got that right? That was in my mind. 330?
330, yeah.
Okay. I thought so. You're a buddy.
I always tell my young kids in my camps, I played almost 500 games, but I was on the roster for a lot of games, but I was a healthy scratch for a lot, or I was injured for a lot, right?
But you get those games, right?
Those games, right, for the pension. That's how it works, right? So for every 2 games you're not playing and you're on the roster, 1 game goes towards a pension. But just a funny note, because, you know, it just sounds better when I say, oh, I've been on the roster for almost 500 games. Oh, yeah.
It does, but it really helped. I didn't understand, Brown. Remember years ago, I got paid out. It wasn't obviously I didn't have my game, but I got credit for like 160 games. I was like, what the hell is this? Yeah. I didn't realize. But a lot of that, remember, I missed a huge time with a concussion.
Yeah.
And then missed a lot of games, and they added up. So anyway, it was a nice little, again, no pension, but I think I got, I don't know, 80 grand or something, like just given to me. And, you know, it was like, do you want to take 80 now? Or like 100 when you're 65, I think it was. So I, you know, for someone like me, it was a nice little bonus. But yeah, so were you like on the power play and stuff?
In midget, you know, in midget hockey too. Like, I can't remember who gave the stats. They know a team will call my coach in Toronto. Oh, what did Brownie get that year? I got, you know, he got. I made up half the crap, right? So, but I was playing power play. Like, I played power play my last year midget hockey. Right, I played power play, and I played power play.
And your last year junior, right? She had like 46 points last year.
Yeah. It's just, you know how it is, Terry. You said it before. Like I was a tough kid. I was putting up points in junior, but I got to the next level, and you know, I had to change my game. And it's funny, you know, this is something that just came back to me. Paul Bordelot, remember our coach in Fredericton? Paul Bordelot. It was before Tyrion. I remember being in the AHL in Cornwall, and I was doing all right. I was a defenseman. I was a stay-at-home, trying to put up numbers or trying to just, you know, play. And he came to me and said, Brownie, you know, I don't think you'll make the NHL as just a defensive defenseman. You're gonna have to fight.
Oh yeah.
You're gonna have to fight. And he's like,
you're gonna have to. And he used the words fight.
Fight. Yeah, no, he goes,
Brownie, I was paying attention that year before you go further.
Yeah.
Do you remember, like, in the first 8 games having 100 penalty minutes?
Yeah.
Do you remember that? I remember Rivy, back when we used to phone people. I was in junior, and he called. Rivy was like that. He was a good leader. He called to check up on me. He barely knew me. But I remember going, Brownie's gone nuts. And when the hockey news comes out, because you know computers, right? And we got the hockey news in the back of the bus. I opened it up. Brad Brown, 8 games, 108.
Yeah,
Anyway.
I'll just tell you about, it's just, but he's like, you got to fight. So, you know, as a 20-year-old, you're like, I'll do whatever it takes to get to the National Hockey League, whatever it takes. But he was telling me, you know, Paul Bordelot, you know, I coached Sandy McCarthy, I coached Ojic, I coached all these guys. And he goes, Brownie, you have that in you. Like, I see you're a tough kid. You can do that if you want, right? So what the fuck am I going to do? So
what are you going to do?
The next game that I go on a tear, I just want to challenge everyone, right? And I just, you know, and you know what? Maybe if I didn't do that, I'll be working full time, 9 to 5, doing something, right? It helped me, I think, and.
But it's funny, Brownie, because it's often where you're like, okay, I'm just looking, even that year, right? If you come in, same thing with Craig Rivet, scored a bit in junior, but I don't remember him being on that power play. You had, this is the year before, but still you had like Rory Fitzpatrick, then like Stefan Robida.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, Roby was young.
These guys, hold on now, there's more though. Miloslav Girin. Right, great guy. Francis Groslo, Jan Nemecek. I forgot he was there. We split with LA. Brett Clark. So these guys are going to get a shot on the power play, almost. Not that you were any worse. It's almost. It's okay. It's. I often would go to a team, or let's even say there. Let's say we were in Freddie.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I'm not in any way being negative. I totally take this with a grain of salt, and I think it's the way it is, and I had no problem with it. But let's just say the power play needed a boost, and we needed to round out the lines or whatever. Even though I had 50 in junior, and I consider myself a scorer. Well, if you got Matt Higgins there, he's not going to play on the third line. I can play on the third line.
Mm-hmm.
He can't play on the third line. Now, and Matty, really offensive, like really might as well have him out there on the power play. I'm not saying he was scared of his shadow or anything, but he wasn't physical. So sometimes a move like that is made, even though you could do the job, but you might be, like you could just go depth. You could always put you out there in any situation. If you had to put you on the power play, of course, you're not going to embarrass. But Stefan Robida,
he's a power player.
I find he's now, not going to be out there.
I find now though, like back in our day, like you had to really earn your spot on anything, right?
Yeah.
But I think now they identify kids in their roles where they can do really well, and they'll give them a chance in year one. Like if you're a highly skilled player in the OHL or the Dub or the Q, you put up 60 goals and you're a playmaker. You're not going to play in the AHL the following year, play on the fourth line and do nothing. Because they have so many slots for certain guys now. And I think, but back in the early 90s and stuff, like you really had to earn your spot. And
you had to earn it, Brownie. And they would have, I'll never forget, one of Joe Thornton's first games. We were playing Boston. I was called up, and he was out there because I remember, it's in your head, and I'm like, okay, I'm not getting out here much. And I remember going over. I would have gone Baumgartner. And someone got in, but I went to hit Thornton, and Baumgartner got in there, and I remember because that's why it's in my mind. But that's what it was. Joe Thornton, look at his numbers. I don't know. I don't know off the top of my head, but I think Joe Thornton in his first year had less than 10 points. Yeah. So they played him a lot, but he was fourth line, right? The odd fight, get in there. He was first overall. So People forget that shit.
So that year, I remember that this is something came up to me. That year, they drafted Joe first overall, and I think they drafted Sergei Samsonov 8th overall. Out of the IHL. He played a year of pro the year before. Smaller guy, very coordinated, quick already. Like he's already like maxed out of his potential.
Yeah.
And I remember that year, Sergei won Rookie of the Year. And
I do remember that.
I remember I saw a reporter, he wrote, "Thank God Boston took Sergei Samsonov 8th overall because it would have been a bust year for the Bruins because they picked Joe number 1. Yeah. But it just goes to show it takes time for big boys to develop, and 3 years later, Joe's scoring.
And back then, it was the school of hard knocks. Sorry, you're on the fourth line.
But Joe was,
Right now, he would definitely be in the top 6. He would never, ever, ever, not once look at the fourth line, especially not with big guys like Bomber out there. With if Bomber's out there with you, that means you're playing against every team with those guys, right?
Yeah.
But it's funny, as a player, I remember. We're not worrying, but wondering about certain guys. I mean, we're in the first round, so I don't know about you, but I was always aware of guys that came in with these huge expectations. Some would work, some wouldn't. But I knew Joe Thornton was going to be a player. I remember reading all these things, and I'm like, oh God, like this guy, I already know is a fucking dynamite player. Now listen, Senators, Brownie.
Yeah.
I don't even know what my first question would be. You live in Ottawa.
Yeah.
I think I had these guys pegged to like really surprise. I thought they were going to be a lot of fun to watch. Not entirely untrue. They are kind of fun to watch at times. But I don't know. Their captain is a great, it seems to be at least on the ice, leader. He drops the mitts. He's a big power forward. They got all this talent from Stutzla to Pinto to now Josh Norris, who might be out again. They got Giroux. They got Tarasenko. I couldn't believe when I looked at their lineup how poorly they're doing. Now they had DJ. Now they got Martin. Is there much of a difference? But the one thing I do see is that their goalies, to a person, all 3 that have played, especially the 2 that they brought in, Forsberg and Korpisalo, to try to save the day, these guys are poison. Jack Campbell got sent down with the same numbers, man. These guys are like 8-8-1, 8-8-9. What's going on, and how much of it is goalies, do you think?
So here's the thing. In Ottawa now, all the fans and the fan base love to shit on the goalies, but to me, honestly, it's not the goaltending. It's the team. It's the makeup of the team. Because I look at this time last year, Cam Talbot, everyone's saying, oh, he's a bomb, what a waste, what a terrible signing.
Yeah.
Oh, what's Cam Talbot doing now? He's kicking ass right now. right? And
Yeah.
he's doing well. And then Gustafson in Minnesota, he was here too, and he had, he was struggling. To me, it's about the team. Like you can't have a really poorly constructed team and expect a goalie to be great. I don't buy it. I don't buy it. Like,
So you're saying then that's the one thing I don't see all the games with the Senators. I just watch the highlights. I try to watch Oilers as much as I can, obviously, because I'm covering them.
You show me a good.
But like, it's the shots
team.
you're saying.
Yeah.
It's one thing to have a shooting percentage, but the type of shots that they're getting are better quality.
Like you need a good team. Like I always say, do you think Martin Brodeur would have the records he has right now if he didn't play for the Devils his entire career? He went to a great team from day one.
I saw that with my own eyes. Right? Yeah. And whereas Hasek, remember Hasek would get way more shots?
Yeah.
And it would be, I do remember that in the late 90s going like, I only know a little bit here. But we watched, we were up there one time and Hasek, I think he put out the Canadiens. We were Black Aces. But anyway, I remember looking at that guy going, oh my God, the shots that he stops are fucking incredible.
Yeah.
And Brodeur was a lot of like, against Jersey, you just go, look, let's just shoot it and try to get a rebound or something because we can't get around the D.
Yeah. So my thing is, we've seen goalies come to Ottawa and play like crap and go elsewhere and play like all-stars. So to me, it's not. Don't blame the goalies all the time about all this and that. Like blame the team, how it's constructed, and move forward. So I don't buy it.
But how it's constructed, all these guys are young.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? Like Pittsburgh Penguins got a problem. All these older guys that are legit good, and well, it's not really them, but still, it's weird that they're losing. Mm-hmm. And here's the Senators with like the opposite problem. But what do you do? What do you do with that?
They need I think Jacques Martin's doing a better job, and Alfie. Teams they're buying into playing a team game, and they're playing a system where they want to get the goals down a lot and play that boring kind of game. Because as you know, you can't win anymore playing 6-5, 7-5 games. You can't, because once playoffs come, it's a man's game, and the game gets tight, and you need toughness, you need grit. You need, those simple goals, crash the net, rebound goals.
You still need that.
You need that. Like you need toughness, and you don't need fight. Like fighting's fine, right? It's a good deterrent to have a good fight in your lineup, but you need grit. You need toughness. That's what I think. And all the top teams now, like who win cups, they got fucking toughness. They got guys that will go through the boards, like
all of them.
Tampa
I know.
Bay,
I say that.
And Louis, and even in our day, Terry, I look about this in our day. The Red Wings are always known as a skilled team. A lot of Europeans, a lot of flair, but they had toughness. They had McCarthy.
Yeah, they had toughness.
They had coach.
And you're right. And those guys, even
Draper,
it was McCarty, Maltby, Draper, right? Yeah. That was a line. Like even them, even if they didn't fight you, they would have been really. And I say to people now, I'm like, I don't ever remember there being a shitload of fights in the playoffs. There's some now. There was some then. But when I thought tough, even even in junior in the American League, which I have most of my experience, but I remember just going, okay, we're in for a battle. And I wasn't thinking in my head like it's time to fight by Lois. I was just like, okay. And that's hockey, right? Hockey. And I love that it hasn't changed. And all these traditionalists, of which I am one to a degree, and you are. I mean, we came out of an era. But I still say, I'm like, man, hockey's the toughest sport. When it gets to the playoffs,
it's a different.
I don't care what, if it's 2024, 1984, it's the biggest difference in all the four major sports from the regular season to the playoffs, I think, is hockey. It still happens. Yeah. And every year, teams that come out looking like they got shot out of a cannon, man, and they're hitting everything. They're getting in the goalie's face. And I do truly think that, well, not only does it still have a place, it's still a very important, one of the most important factors, especially when it comes to the playoffs. Now, do you think the Sens don't have enough of that? I mean, they got Tkachuk got more penalty minutes than he's got more than double the next player on the team, which is not all about penalty minutes. But if I'm looking at that lineup as a player, it probably, outside of the odd hit, maybe Tkachuk's the only one I'm really even worried about. If I'm
well, they have one kid now that Ridley Gregg. He's a player.
Okay, the guy who took the slap shot.
Yeah, he's tough. He's gritty. He's a player. I bet you, deadline time.
Okay.
I bet you every team's calling the Ottawa asking about Ridley Gray because every team will want Ridley on their team. He's a guy.
Well, I think they need him then, and they need guys like that. Where'd he come from? I hadn't heard of him till that shot.
You know what? He was a first-round pick to Ottawa, but he was like, it was the year they had 3 first-round picks, and he was the 3rd pick in the first round later. So he got kind of, like not talked about a lot.
I see.
It was Stützle, Sanderson, and then it was Grigg went. But he played in the WHL. Tough. His dad played too for a bit.
No wonder. I had no problem with what he did. I just told people, I said, are you surprised that he got jumped at? Like I said it and people went crazy. Now that I got the radio show too, right? Twitter goes, no, I don't even read it.
I was at the
But
game.
someone asked me and I said, I'm not saying that I cross-check the guy in the head. But whatever I did, like, or but I go, like, in any era, if that happened, I mean, you can't be surprised that someone went after him right after, right?
I was at the game. I was there in the.
Oh, were you really?
And you know what? You know what he did was, so when Leafs are in town, there's about 15,000 Leaf fans, and they're there the whole game, and they're cheering, they're booing the Sens or whatever. So that was his chance. That was his chance at the end of the game to say "F you" to the Leaf fans in the stands. He wasn't saying "F you" to the Leaf players. He was saying "F you" to the Leaf fans. Get the hell out of my building. That's what he was thinking in my mind, right?
I never thought of it like that. There you go. There's an example of how being in the building can really change.
You don't know.
Really
the whole game, the Leaf fans are going nuts. They go nuts. They take over the cheers. It's like, go Leafs, go. So as a player, if I'm a Sens player, I'm playing against the Leafs, I hear this all game, and I have a chance to say F you to the fans in a certain way because I can't give them the finger, but I can do it on an action. That was the action. He said, get the hell out of our building, right? And I don't blame Morgan Rielly. Totally see it. And Morgan Rielly, his response was amazing, but his action was
I didn't know.
His action was he didn't want to hit him in the head.
I agree. And I don't think it happens it was definitely egregious, but I don't think he meant
no, not at all
to hit him right where he did. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Go there. He want to go cross check him, say F you, maybe drop the gloves, a 5-on-5 little melee, and then that's it. He didn't want to lose $200,000, whatever he lost on his salary for 5 games. He wanted to send a message, but it got everyone talking, and everyone loves it, and the whole Ottawa sports town was talking about it.
That's the other thing. And I really do, Brownie. I've said it before. I love fighting in the game, but when we were in, it was a little bit much. I remember 34 my first year, and it was more. I don't. People can say what they want, but it was more staged. But I don't mean staged like wrestling, though. I mean like before the game. Often, if it was going to be rough, I'd just go, okay, I'm going to cut my losses, and we're playing Philly, so I'll fight. Probably Lessard wants to go. I do all right against him versus Bialowas. I remember thinking that train of thought.
Yeah.
I didn't really enjoy it. I like more WHL. I get out there, and we had tough guys for that. I was out there first to score, and then and maybe if there's a racket, there's a racket.
Pierre,
the point being, I guess.
Pierre, you would love it. Hey, don't you wish you had your WHL years in the NHL?
Hey, I can't imagine now, Brownie. I played that game with the Growlers.
You'd have loved that.
People go, what do you think is the difference? And it's look, I'm not. If I was worried out there. No, worried is the wrong word. But if there was any nervous energy, and any of it was curiously, I guess, unsure, it would be I know cardio. I'm going to do as good as I possibly can because I know I keep myself in shape that way. You can't not when you play ball hockey and skate 5 times a week, right? So I have to at least. I know I have that. My lungs are good, but can I keep up with the play? Now, even watching the Coast now, like you said, the game's a lot faster.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you why it's faster, and I don't need to be. I here I am with 1 game played, but I'm telling you, I also had front row seats. I go to all the games, but I'm sitting on the bench. Games I didn't. But I'm telling you right now, I started the game. So the puck comes to their, I think, D, and he just kind of dumps it in. Now I just go and finish my, I just nudge him. Because I'm used to just finishing my hit and letting the guy, I wasn't doing it to hurt him. I wasn't doing it to knock him over. It just as he dumps it in, he follows through. Yeah. Boom, there you go. Right, and then I noticed that doesn't happen anymore, right? It was kind of subconscious. I watch games. I just didn't realize. And then I went down to get the puck so that my D has it behind the net. I'm left wing. This is first shift. So I come down to get the puck, give him an option. He gives it to me, and I put it off the wall for the centerman to skate through, right? And I'm ready, and the guy's coming right on me.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't flinch, but I almost go to reverse hit to a degree, but there's nobody there. He just skates by. Then it comes to me again in the same position. and I give it to the centerman who now is going through, and we break out. Same thing. The guy, and he wasn't doing me a favor because I'm Ted Hitchcock or TR or anything. He was just, that's it. And then a few times later, I was like, wow, this is fucking wild. Like, no wonder it's faster because there's not as much tension out there. And again, it's just the game. I'm not complaining. I'm not yelling at the clouds. I'm just telling you that even when I played, you and I weren't great skaters. We had to really work on that as we did. We really put a lot of time in for a reason. So I wasn't a good skater in the best of times. But if I'm out there and I'm noticing at 47, I'm playing that, wow, this is a little bit, I don't want to use the word easier because with faster becomes the passes are harder. Yeah. You got to know where to be. I mean, it's still the game's just a little bit different. But I really noticed that. And I remember after the game, I laughed. I go, boys, Sergei Fedorov's still the fastest player I've ever seen. I know that this game's going a little faster than mine was, but I think we'd be all right. I think guys would be, like, I don't think Matt Higgins or Eric Hood or Boyd Olsen wouldn't be good skaters anymore in today's game. They just had to slow down a little bit. We had a red line, and people were hooking and holding. I don't know if you noticed that.
No, the game's changed, bud. The game's changed, and now every player in pro, they can all skate now. That's the thing. Every player.
They can all skate.
Like in our day,
every player, even the big. I mean, I noticed.
Like the fourth line guys now, they're big and they're tough and they can skate. You know, and they have one job to do is get the puck in the O-zone and forecheck hard and get off. Right? Don't.
Even Ryan Reeves the other night when he scored.
Yeah.
Like he beat his player down the ice. And when they asked him out, he's like, yeah, like I really have been working on my skating. And like people still do it. They laugh. He's in his 30s, late 30s or mid to late. And, you know, it's Ryan Reeves, but the game's going so fast.
Ryan Reeves is 37 years old, I think. I checked it a while
37. The game's going so fast, you don't realize how fast he is for what he does.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not saying he's a speed demon, but I don't know. I can think of guys out there that wouldn't have been able to move around. I can think of guys, you know, there were certain guys that were tough, like Dave Morissette. I remember going, like, he can really skate. Like, you got to get out of the way. This guy's going to, like, he could probably hurt you worse hitting you than if he punched you. Right? And there was other players. I'm like, there's no way. If the red line wasn't here and the rink was bigger, there's no fucking way you'd even play past Bantam, you fucking bum. I'm not going to name him.
We know hockey games move fast, but with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL, you can score faster than anything happening on the ice. This week, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code THPN. New customers can bet $5 to get $200 instantly in bonus bets, only on DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. 21 plus, age varies by jurisdiction, void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. See dkng.com/hockey for eligibility and deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gambling resources. NHL and the NHL Shield are registered trademarks of the National Hockey League. Copyright NHL 2024, all rights reserved.
Okay, so Josh Norris now might be injured.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And he was hurt. He missed that full year. I mean, here's a 35-goal scorer, and he was just getting back on track. Okay, let's just say that.
Well, let's just break down the Sens problem the last 2 years now. Like when DJ got here for his first 4 years, the team was terrible, right? They're a building team. They were terrible. But the last 2 years now, when they started to climb the ladder a bit to get better, they had horrendous starts to the season. Like October, November, December, they're terrible, and they're out of the.
Now, why?
I don't know why. If people knew the answer, they would fix it. But then what they do is last year and this year they start winning now. They start winning in mid-January, February, March, April, and then we're all going, oh shit, we're gonna be good for next year. We're gonna look good, and the players go home that summer. Oh, we have a good team. They're talking to their buddies. They're training. Oh yeah, next year's our year. So the Sens, they gotta friggin', it's better if they lose now and get a better draft pick and go home all summer pissed off and grumpy about the following season then the win now. Oh, we're playing well now. Things are looking great for next year. And then next year, come October, they shit the bed again. And then so it's a weird thing.
So do you think? I mean, I don't know contract situations, but is anybody there talking about, like, if it's me, I got so much young talent. I trade a couple guys for a bona fide for somebody, and then then you go you fall back 10 yards and punt.
You just can't have so many friggin' highly skilled players that play the same way, like on your top six. Like you got to bring in some jam. Brian Cooper's right back in the day with the Leafs. Remember when he came with the Leafs? He wanted to bring in tough, but back then they didn't have any skill. Then they only had toughness. But you have to build your team balance. You got to have both. So the Sens, I guarantee you, they'll look for some guy that can play a 200-foot game, a hard, gritty guy that's one.
Yeah, I thought the Leafs were onto something when they had our buddies there, Tux and Corson.
Yeah.
And it's whatever years those were, maybe
those
2,
are good years.
03, 04.
Those are great years because they got to the semifinals a few times. They
did, didn't they? Yeah, okay. I thought so. And it's
after
a coin at that point.
It was after the lock. After that, when they started the rebuild, they brought in Berkey there, and and he was all about toughness and grit and that. And they brought in Dave Clarkson. I remember Dave Clarkson. They got this kid there from Jersey.
Terrible.
But but Berkey knows, like, he was onto something. So. And with my Leafs, like I say, the Sens do it wrong. The Sens always win in January, February, March, and April, and they always kick ass now. But the Leafs, like for the Leafs here, I'm a Leaf fan since I was moved to Mississauga when I was 5 years old. I love the Leafs.
Okay.
But Matthews, Marner, all those guys are having great years. And as a Leaf fan now, I don't care what Matthews does right now. He can score 80 goals. It's cute. It's good. It's amazing for you. All I care about is the playoffs. Like they have one.
I hear you. Now, what do you? Because look,
one playoff win.
I had a long
in 10 years.
One, but what do you? I always, part of me looks at those guys and go, like, can you get this fucking job done? And another part feels bad because last year, I remember people saying, well, they don't care, but I disagree. I think they care. If I'm Marner, I really care, right, for myself and for the team, but I'm like, I got to live here, and I signed this kind of held out for an extra like few $100,000. That was so. First of all, if I'm him, I would have asked for $1 million less and had a lot less on my mind. But anyway, Auston Matthews. I remember last year when he scored, and maybe in the third game, and he was snake bitten a little bit, and he went crazy. And you could say, I'm like, that's not the face of someone that doesn't care. No. I just don't know if they can put it together. There's a difference. Their games are so other planetary in the playoffs than everybody else's that maybe they'll learn to be gritty, or maybe the Leafs will just. I think they tried, and I know there's a 10 points in one here, but guys like Domi and Bertuzzi, I don't really think, even though Bertuzzi's coming on now a bit, those are just a few bounces in 1 or 2 games. I think maybe their worth will show in the playoffs. Yeah. Maybe I think. I mean, they seem like guys, and if it's me, I'm taking guys that don't mind playing every second fucking night. The NHL playoffs is a grind, and it's often who stays the most uninjured, right? Like, so if they can get through, I mean, I don't know. What do you think on the Leafs? I know people say they need D, and they do, but now they're 7-1 in their last 8.
Yeah.
Would you pick a fucking gritty forward? Would you pick a goalie, or would you pick a depth D if you're looking at the Leafs?
I wish they had went to Calgary there a few months ago and got Zadorov. Like a big body defenseman. You don't need him for anything.
I thought they were going to.
No point. Just play hard in front of the net in your own zone, cross check, clear the net, no rebounds. That's what they need. Some big defensemen. I look at Vegas. I went and saw Vegas play the other day. They're all like 6'4", 6'5", all their defensemen. And they have a couple 6-footers who are highly skilled, but they're big. They're big. They're built. They're constructed to win games in the play.
Yeah. And every year, every fucking team that wins it has big, tough D. And I don't care if they take hitting out even. It's still physics.
Yeah.
It's still fucking physics. I remember playing against Corey Cross, looking at him on TV.
Yeah.
I got to be honest. I don't want to say the word horrible, but I was like, geez, this guy's tall and lanky. Easy to get around him. Yeah, put the puck in the corner. You couldn't get the fucking thing. Yeah. Like he's 6'8" or whatever he was.
Long stick, poking the
right. Hal Gill was the same.
Yeah.
Upon first glance. I'm just using those because they're the extreme on a spectrum. But like big. Again, I use big tough D, but it doesn't even have to be that tough. People
Rangy.
forget how
Rangy is the word. Rangy, long stick, box guys.
Victor Hedman.
Yeah.
When they're on their runs, like, it's not like he's running guys over, but he's skilled and he's fucking huge, right? He's like 6'5".
So we'll see if the Leafs can figure out something at the deadline. They can get a couple, like.
But are they trying?
They're trying. Because right now they're in their prime to win. Like what are you, like if you're the owner of the Leafs or the GM, what are you waiting for? All your players.
Well, I can say the same thing about Edmonton, but you can say Edmonton needs a guy like that too. So like Zadorov or Tanev just went.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And Zadorov went. I mean, everybody that you see, I don't know. I'd even think about Joel Edmondson. He just pops into my head. I'm just trying to think of. I'm sure there's players out there. I mean, I don't analyze the game every day, but someone like that, even a depth guy that's a little bit bigger, that's a vet. I don't know. I thought last year, say for the. Like, are there any Luke Shens out there? I thought he was a good playoff acquisition.
You need that, right? So we'll see. The Leafs, like those guys are in their prime now. They have to win in the next 2-3 years. So if I'm Leaf management, I'm going for it every year.
Yeah, I am. But I just, these guys are going. These guys are getting traded for things that are totally on. Like, there's no reason Edmonton and Toronto couldn't have made the trade Vancouver did, and there's no reason they couldn't have. Like, I'm looking at what did they get for Tanev?
Second rounder or.
And a couple of players. Then I think for Zadorov, it was considerably less.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was like a third rounder and maybe a player or something like that. I could be off, but I know it wasn't like as rich as everybody thought. Like the Oilers and the Leafs could have done that, couldn't they?
Well, there's time. But my pick, though, for Canada for the next Cup is the Jets. There's my pick, the Winnipeg Jets.
Wow.
That's a strong, tough.
Yeah, I've said that.
They give up 2 goals or less a game. They're the best goals against in the league. I think they're up there. Like that.
How much of that is Hellebuck?
It's Hellebuck's a big part of it, but it's the team too. Their team too, and that team in the playoffs is going to be tough. Like they're going to be.
I normally would agree with you, but I've put all my chips in 2 or 3 times now.
In the Oilers, because you do the Oilers talk radio. Who's your team to win it from Canada?
Yeah, well, I you know what's funny? I picked the Oilers at the beginning of the year with like as far as a bet. I put 100 on them at the beginning of the year. I always do that. I don't bet a lot.
Yeah.
But I happen to do that, and then Gregor asked me to host the show with him on Mondays and Thursdays. So I wasn't doing it for the fan base or anything, but in the years previous to this, I think maybe 4 of the last 5, I took Winnipeg.
Yeah, I know. And they just burn you every year right in the playoffs. They have a meltdown in the playoffs, and it burns you, right? So
every year, they're picked for it.
They got that captain there. It's just a friggin' leader. And I really like the coach. The coach has been a lifer. He's been in the league for 40 years. And now he's a great guy, and he's doing a good job in Winnipeg. Bonus. He's doing a good job.
Yeah.
I like him a lot.
And he made some tough decisions, and boys had to eat it. So I hope you're right. And by the way,
so that's my
at this point, I don't lean towards. I do. Obviously, I pay attention to the Habs, the Leafs, because they're in your face every day. I live in Newfoundland. It's one or the other for 80% of the province. And then the Oilers. But I really do. I'd love to see Canada win. There's no team in Canada I would not want to see win the Cup. I think it's been a while. I know it doesn't matter. I remember when the Anaheim Ducks won it in 2008. I think they had like 23 Canadians on it. But, it'd be nice for a Canadian city to win it. Yeah. This Rempe kid, Matt Rempe, is it? Yeah, it's been in 3 back-to-back fights. Now, as experienced fighters, the both of us, and as guys that when we were younger, left our head out there. Like we led with our chin more than we probably should have early on. Just let's see who goes down first. We both really threw. I can say that. Whatever fan paid a ticket to watch you or I in a game, and if we fought, they got their money's worth. But can Rempe do this? People say, "Oh, it's not. They're not." My buddy said the other night, "Oh, these guys aren't as tough as guys in your era." I'm like, "No, fuck me. Are you telling me that Delorier, Olivier, whatever his name is, Ray Reeves, these guys? I mean, I don't know if you compare them to Probert and them. I really don't know. But they're fucking tough.
They're tough.
Don't give me a fucking nonsense. They're not tough.
They're strong. They train. They're machines. But the one thing that they don't have that the guys like the true heavyweights back in the day had, they don't have the experience, the reps, right? Because those guys are only fighting 5-6 times a year now, maybe. I don't know what they have for fight total.
They can't do junior, Brownie.
What's that?
They can't fight in junior.
Yeah, so like so they're not, as a fighter, Terry, like when you're fighting a lot, you get into a rhythm, you get comfortable, you're in fighting shape.
Yes.
Think back in the day, our first fight in training camp, we're exhausted. We can't even move. We're in the
I love that you said that. Yeah, fighting shape is something.
Well,
People
guys,
don't think it is. It is just like a boxer, just like anything.
And
I could train all summer, man. You get in your first fight, you're like, you're
open,
fucking bagged.
Gassed. Can't move. Gassed.
Gassed.
Well, these guys here, they're not fighting a lot. So I get worried because this Rempe kid he's fighting a lot now, but when you don't fight a lot, you're not as sharp as you would be if you fought 22 times a year. So you got to be careful because in that Rempe kid, his first fight, I watched it on TV with my kids, the outdoor game, he fought Matt Martin.
Yeah.
And I saw this. I don't know if you saw it, but I saw the fight. At the end of the fight, Matt Martin could have tagged him, I thought.
Yeah.
And
I did see that.
He said, listen, kid, this is your first fight in the NHL. It's on national TV. We're going to end this on a good note. No one's getting knocked out here. Good fight.
Yeah.
I think that was classic by Matt Martin. But I saw it. Matt could have punched him one more time because Rempe's a big kid. He's gangly and his chin was out there. And he better learn to hold on a bit more or just be a bit safe because he's going to get KO'd one of these. Because I saw he's fighting. They're playing the Leafs coming up soon.
Yeah.
So is he going to fight Ryan Reeves? Is he going to fight Ryan Reeves?
I think he is.
And then Jack
I
Montreal.
think he is going to.
So I just hope he doesn't get hurt. As us, like fighting's primal. It's primal. Like everyone loves a fight. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Like it goes back to the gladiator days, one-on-one, just human versus human. People.
Oh yeah. Well, we're talking about it now, right?
Yeah,
I'm sure.
But don't get hurt. That's all. I see these guys. I've been through it. You've been knocked out. I've been knocked out. You just don't want to get hurt. That's all. You want to have a.
Speaking of guys big like Rempe, we got knocked out. I don't know if you remember back-to-back games by the same guy. Well, I got put to my knees. I don't want to say knocked out. And you had the worst black eye I've ever seen. His name was Peter Worrell. Yeah. Oh God! I tried to open up and do and throw, and he put me right to my knees. Go to sleep, little baby. I went over to the belly box. Whoa, that was a hard punch, and I didn't knock you down. Like what?
Was that the same game?
It was the next game that we played them.
No,
I remember because
I'm trying to be a good buddy for you. I'm being your buddy. I want to stick up for TR. I want to go scrap Peter Worrell. He's 6'7". Yeah, he gave me the.
That's what happened.
I remember that. My eye was completely shut for 3 days. And
completely shut.
I was out for 2 games. So I couldn't see out of my one eye. Yeah, but
that is exactly what happened. Though he came to me right off the draw. I guess he just saw it at penalty minutes. Before the game, remember you would go in and you'd all get the game notes and it was more. Even the scorers didn't give a fuck as much as if you had penalty minutes, you go over and go, okay, say what's going on, and it was impossible to avoid. After halfway through the year, it's like Fredericton, Brad Brown, 287, Terry Ryan, or I say 187, Terry Ryan, 150. And then next is 82. You knew that the boy, someone, that's exactly what happened. And he came at me on the draw and you came in there.
Yeah. And it was a different time. And those games too. Think of those games in the AHL, okay? 3-3, you're on the road. And if you're down 5-1 in the third period, it's going to be a shit show. It's gonna be. You never leave a game if you're down 5-1 or 6, and you'll never leave the game without getting something out of it, some kind of revenge or some kind of fight or whatever.
Something.
But now
the clock would never comfortably tick away. Would it?
Never. And you're please don't be stupid. Don't. And you know what? For me, I say this now, but I was one of the dumb ones. I just I would do something stupid every game, just try to send a message for next game. But today's game,
and in the back of your mind, you're getting penalty minutes on your resume.
Exactly, because that's what what
right?
it is. Other GMs in the league, they look at the stats. Oh, who's this kid Brown? It does help, right? It does help if you want to get to that next level for that role. PIMs do help. Even now, you see a guy now in the minors, if he has top 5 in PIMs, you're like, oh, who's this kid? Let's watch him play.
Yeah, I know they still exist. I was even before that game I played, I looked in and the guys were like, no, this guy, and this guy, they all fight. And I was like, there's just more of a element than I really thought. And it's like Bill Burr says. I saw Bill Burr interviewed the other day on one of these talk shows, and he's like, hockey, he goes, people say oh, the fighting's gone. He's like, there was 292 last year. There's way more than any other. We still have a sport that if you like fighting, there's all kinds of fights.
Yeah.
And if you like hits, it's again, not as much tension. But if you like hits, wait till the playoffs start. You like it a little bit, it's going to be the same shit.
It's a messed up sport, Terry. Hockey is a messed up sport. What other sport profession can you fight bare knuckle? Bare knuckles.
Just fight bare knuckle.
No, there's no bare knuckle fighting anywhere in the world. Except in fucking YouTube, there's
we were first round picks. We were down in Freddie, many games, 3 and out, like no one. I say to people, and again, I'm not fucking complaining. I just think it'd be different now.
Yeah.
I think you'd be handled with kitty gloves now immediately by the agent, by the parents, by the I guess ours probably would be old school, but outside of parents, I think. Now, like all kinds of parents come down in the dressing room, agents are there often.
Oh my God, yeah.
If you could say I'm not playing anything other than the bottom 6 or top 6, so trade me or whatever it would be. It was a different element. We were just in there, like
and it's getting better.
First round pick again. Bare knuckle fighting, Ty Domi. First game, no one gave a fuck.
No, you're 19 years old. You're 18, 19 years old fighting a fucking legit heavyweight. Like, can you
first round pick, first year in the A, 34 tilts.
First round pick.
I'm surprised it wasn't 35. No one said a word. Who am I fighting? Are you getting injured? How are your hands? How's your head? No one gives a fuck. And I'm not calling out the Canadians.
No.
That was
No, it's just the way it was, right? Like you wouldn't have it, right? Like no other sport. Like I look at football. It's probably it's a tough sport, right? The biggest men, the most power, the most impact. Every line of scrimmage is impact. Could you imagine if football, just for some reason back in the 1920s, allowed fighting, and you had the two guys just go buckets off and start going at it on the field, toe to toe?
Hey, I know. First of all, I've thought that. I hate that I got to take off because we're getting somewhere with this. But here's the other thing, Brownie. People go like old school, like Gordie Howe. Like, do you know Gordie Howe only had like one Gordie Howe hat trick, if any? His whole career, he had like 18 fights. His whole career, he played the longest. So people say this old school stuff. I don't know if even hockey historians, not hockey historians we do, hockey traditionalists that think they know everything. Every Saturday night they go in, I want it the way it used to be. Again, I love fights. I'm just saying there's different eras. But like 50, 60 years ago, there wasn't fights like you think. There wasn't. Like, Rocket Richard starting the riot, and that happened.
Yeah.
On his career, he like retaliated 6 times and had 5 minutes. Like, there wasn't all these guys, and there were tough players. Of course, they got no helmets on. They're going around hitting each other, but there wasn't major. And it's in our era was the first time that there was actually one heavyweight goon that couldn't skate. Well, some of them that wouldn't be in the league if there wasn't fighting, and now you're a hired gun. And even my dad says, he's like, it was chaos in the 70s and all that, the Broad Street Bullies. But late 70s into 80s, like Broad Street Bullies, like Dave Schultz had 20 goals. Chris Nyland was a 20-goal scorer. Yeah. Bob Probert nearly had 30. Right? These guys just happened to be fucking real tough.
Yeah.
But they were NHL players, good NHL players. But then in our era, it started to be, okay, we're going to play somebody, and he's going to sit on the bench the entire game. And if anything gets out of hand, sick him.
Yeah.
Right? Now, if he plays regular shift, he's not going to get 5 goals the whole year. But, so it really kind of shifted.
Yeah.
And if anybody says, Eddie Shore, old school, okay, maybe when it comes to hits. But no one in the fucking those times was having fucking 10 fights in a year, let alone 20 and 30 and 40.
Here's a stat for you. Do you know the player that has the most fights and most goals of all time? I heard this a few weeks ago.
Most fights and goals combined?
Combined, yeah. Who would it be? Who do you think? He's a Hall.
Brendan Shannon.
Oh, TR got it. Yeah, Brendan Shannon. Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
No fucking way.
Yeah.
Did I?
I'm pretty sure.
Incredible. I was going to say Cam Ninney, but he didn't play enough.
Shanny was tough. He was tough, and
Shanny was tough. People forget it now, and again because he's associated with the Leafs.
Oh yeah.
It's funny we show our age sometimes. Again, we're at the All-Star game. And we were at a Steve Dangle thing. He had me on his live pod there. And we went up, and it was great. Ran into Stephen Brunt, and Senior came with me, and Liam McGuire. And it was an awesome time.
Yeah.
But, there was fans there, Shoresy and everything. They came over, and I'm like, what do they need? I said, maybe they need more guys like Shanahan. Easy layup. I'm in Toronto.
Yeah.
And they're like, what do you mean, Shanahan? And I went, boys. Do you have any idea how tough this guy was?
He was
and a new generation, because they don't, and they're just following the Leafs. They think the Leafs are being led by the same kind of. I'm like, no, fuck. Brendan Shanahan is exactly what the Leafs need right now.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Well, by the way, Shanahan on those Stanley Cup teams. I forgot about they had Shanahan. They had Shanahan, McCarty, Kosher,
they had
Draper, Maltby. right? They had grit.
Yeah.
Brown, Lapointe, they had the grit. So
they had the grit.
They had the grit and they had the skill, and that's why they were champions for a while.
Steve Yzerman, speaking of John Tavares, now going down to the third line, and people are acting like it's this huge, big deal. Look, anything to win, and he's still on the third fight. He's playing regular. He's on the second power play. But remember Steve Yzerman?
Yeah.
Remember Steve Yzerman?
Yeah.
He was in Tavares' position. He said, fuck it.
Yeah.
First of all, he took less money to stay in Detroit.
Yeah.
And then he played himself on the third and fourth line. Fourth.
Yeah. And just
right?
Just
and
won cups.
Left.
And just won cups. It's all about winning cups now. Like if you're the Leafs, they're all multi millionaires that they're paid for. They're set for life. Now it's about their legacy of winning a cup. I
agree, Brownie. Well said. I got to take off because I promised my daughter I'd take her to Starbucks, her and her friend during lunch hour, and now I'm held to it by a bunch of 13-year-old girls.
Yeah.
And the last time I didn't hear the end of it.
Okay.
Let's bye for now. We'll have you back on in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Let's see where we are. We didn't talk about the Leafs much, but it's always
bring on Senior too. Get Senior on.
Brownie, you know what? I might even do that next week. I might even.
Get the Senior.
Are you around? Hey, let's talk off the air. We'll do that in the next coming weeks. I think I got JR next week, maybe the week after. I got 1,000 things we didn't get to, and Senior would love.
Who do you have next week?
Jeremy Roenick.
Fuck, you're fucking going downhill now, eh, bud? You got me first.
Well, yeah. From you to Jeremy Roenick.
Drop. Fuck, I don't know.
He promised me. I went on his pod after the Growlers game. It was like the next day.
Okay, cool.
He said, "Come on, can you do it?" I said, "Only if you come on my." Anyway, we met at an event. He's a great dude. Anyway,
Perfect.
I'm sure you know that.
Okay.
Brownie,
okay.
Don't kid yourself. You're a great guest, a great human.
Take care.
And around 500 games in the NHL, whatever it is, 330 played
on the roster. Yeah, exactly.
On the roster. Anyway.
Okay.
Anyway, it's great to talk to you again.
Always,
one of my best, oldest hockey buddies. Good luck. And sorry I didn't run into you in Brockville, but I'll be back in Ottawa real soon. I'd love to hook up.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, take care.
By the way, last question.
Okay.
How's your oldest son is playing junior?
No, he quit.
Oh, did he? Okay.
He had enough. He's like, I'm done. He wants to go to university next year and just be a student.
To each their own.
Exactly.
Whatever. Good luck.
Enjoy your life and just. So he's doing that.
Penny Lane doesn't even have skates.
I know.
She's a good person, enjoying her life, and she's good at soccer. If she decided to quit soccer, to be unfortunate, but I'm there for my daughter, right? Like, whatever, and she's a good person.
There's more to life than sports. It's a long life. You got to find that happiness. And
some people don't want to do it. It's fine.
Exactly.
Right? Grow up, go to university, have your fun, grow up like a normal human being, and that's what we're parents. You want to produce good people as opposed to star athletes, right?
Exactly.
Both would be great, but it's not necessary. Good student, good person is the way I think the priorities should go, and family. Okay, Brownie, thanks very much for coming on today.
Yep.
Talk to you again soon. Folks, thanks for tuning in. This has been 194B of Tales with TR. I'll be back in just a couple of days with more awesome stories from more awesome people. If you're downtown St. John's, you want to have a drink, go to Bull and Barrel, Trinity Pub, TJ's Pub, the Martini Bar, Rob Roy Confusion, and of course, Greensleeves. If you're going to have a bite to eat, why not try Loose Tie, Merchant Tavern, Blue on Water, and Wedgwood Cafe. If you want to work out, you want a strength for the and balance for the body and mind, look no further than Rope Walk Lane, Ryan Power Conditioning. There's 2 locations for Mr. Lube. If you need your car and you need to get it lubed up, you need whatever Mr. Lube can do, there's 2 locations. Here in St. John's, one is on Torbay Road, one's on Cameron Road. Live, laugh, lube. Pitbull Pain Relief, the pain sticks that just don't quit. Go to pitbullpainrelief.com, see what all the fuss is about. And of course, True Hockey. Take what's yours. Be back in just a couple of days with more stories, Tales with TR. Thank you, folks, for tuning in. See you soon.